Why do some people achieve extraordinary success while others keep making the same promises to themselves and never change? The answer isn't talent. It isn't motivation. It's something much smaller and far more powerful. This is the life-changing idea behind Atomic Habits. Every year, millions of people set ambitious goals. They promise themselves they'll exercise more, read more, wake up earlier, or finally chase their dreams. But a few weeks later, most of those promises disappear. Why? Because the problem isn't a lack of motivation. The problem is relying on motivation in the first place. James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, argues that lasting success isn't built on massive changes. It's built on tiny actions, repeated consistently over time. A habit so small, it almost feels too easy to matter. Yet those tiny actions, repeated every single day, can completely transform your life. Have you ever looked in the mirror and quietly asked yourself, "Why is my life still the same?" You dream of becoming stronger, smarter, more successful. You promise yourself that tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow comes, and nothing changes. Days turn into months. Months turn into years. And before you know it, you're still waiting for the life you promised yourself. But what if the problem was never your motivation? What if everything you've been told about change was incomplete? What if one tiny habit, repeated every single day, could completely transform your future? This is the powerful idea behind Atomic Habits, a book that has changed millions of lives around the world. The first lesson in Atomic Habits is surprisingly simple. Make it obvious. Every habit begins with a cue. A small signal that tells your brain it's time to act. Most of the time, we don't even notice these signals. We unlock our phones without thinking. We open social media without a reason. We reach for junk food the moment we feel stressed or bored. These aren't conscious decisions. They're automatic responses, built through years of repetition. And that's exactly why changing your habits feels so difficult. You're not fighting a lack of willpower. You're fighting patterns your brain has been practicing for years. James Clear explains that if you want to build a good habit, you must make the cue impossible to miss. Don't depend on motivation. Design your environment to remind you. If you want to read every night, place a book on your pillow before you leave the room. If you want to exercise every morning, lay out your workout clothes the night before. If you want to drink more water, keep a bottle where you can always see it. When the right choice becomes the obvious choice, taking action no longer feels like a struggle. Sometimes, changing your life doesn't begin with changing yourself. It begins with changing what you see every single day. But here's something even more powerful. Your environment is shaping your life every single day, whether you realize it or not. The places you spend time in. The people you surround yourself with. The things you see every morning. They're quietly influencing every decision you make. Success is rarely about having more discipline. It's about creating an environment where the right choice becomes the easiest choice. Think about it. If your phone is always in your hand, you'll keep checking it. If unhealthy food is sitting on the table, you'll eventually eat it. But if a book is waiting beside your bed, if your running shoes are already by the door, if your workspace is clean and ready, good habits stop feeling like hard work. They become part of who you are. The smallest changes in your environment can lead to the biggest changes in your future. Because every great transformation begins with one small decision, repeated every single day. But making a habit obvious isn't enough. You can see the opportunity, and still choose not to act. So what's missing? The answer is simple. Your brain must want it. That's why the second law of Atomic Habits is: make it attractive. Human behavior is driven by desire. The more attractive an action feels, the more likely you are to repeat it. Our brains are naturally drawn to things that promise pleasure, excitement, or reward. That's why it's so easy to spend hours scrolling through social media, yet reading just 10 pages of a book can sometimes feel impossible. Not because reading is difficult, but because your brain sees one activity as rewarding, and the other as work. James Clear explains that lasting habits aren't built by forcing yourself every day. They're built by making the habit something you actually look forward to. When your habits become enjoyable, consistency no longer feels like a battle. It becomes a natural part of your life. Think about the habits that are hardest to break. Checking your phone. Watching one more video. Scrolling through social media for hours. None of these habits started because you needed them. They started because they felt good. Your brain remembers that feeling. And the next time you feel bored, stressed, or lonely, it tells you to do it again. That's the power of attraction. But here's the good news. The same principle can be used to build good habits. Pair a habit you need to do with something you enjoy. Listen to your favorite podcast while exercising. Enjoy a cup of coffee while reading a book. Play relaxing music while studying. When your brain begins to associate a habit with pleasure instead of pressure, that habit becomes easier to repeat. And remember, the habits you repeat every day don't just shape your schedule. They shape your future. Now comes the third law, perhaps the most practical lesson in the entire book. Make it easy. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing that harder means better. We think success requires endless motivation, perfect discipline, and massive effort. But James Clear says the opposite. The easier a habit is to start, the more likely you are to stick with it. Don't promise yourself you'll read 50 pages every night. Start with just 1 page. Don't force yourself to run 5 miles on your first day. Put on your running shoes and step outside. It may seem too small to matter, but that's exactly the point. The goal isn't to impress yourself on the first day. The goal is to show up, again and again. Because every time you repeat a habit, you're strengthening a new identity. Small actions may not change your life in a single day, but repeated over weeks, months, and years, they can completely transform who you become. The fourth and final law is: make it satisfying. Every habit leaves a feeling behind. If that feeling is rewarding, your brain remembers it. If it feels frustrating or meaningless, your brain begins to avoid it. That's why so many people quit. They expect immediate results. But most meaningful habits don't reward you today. They reward you months later. You won't become fit after one workout. You won't become fluent after one English lesson. You won't become successful after reading one book. Real change is invisible at first. It's happening beneath the surface, long before anyone can see it. The people who succeed are the ones who keep going, even when they can't see the results yet. Because they understand one simple truth. Every small step matters. Every repetition matters. Every single day is another chance to become the person you want to be. In the end, your future isn't created by one life-changing decision. It's created by the small choices you make when no one is watching. Remember, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be a little better than yesterday. Because one small habit can change an entire lifetime. If this video helped you in any way, don't forget to subscribe. Every new subscriber gives us the motivation to keep creating high-quality content that can inspire and change lives. Thank you for being here, and see you in the next video.